What's up? What's up, everybody? We are going to give you all a few minutes to jump in here. It is 12 o'clock Pacific time, and I promised that this was when we were going to get started, but we definitely want to let a couple of people linger in there, if in fact there are people that are going to be lingering in. There's people coming in here from YouTube and Facebook and LinkedIn, from so many different places, and I'm super duper excited to be able to share with you this three-part series that is going to help you really achieve peak performance as a faith-based individual. So again, I'm just going to give you all just a minute or two to jump in here. But for now, as you're hopping in, welcome. I'm super excited for you guys to be here. Very, very grateful that you would spend time in here watching this series. So looks like there's some people rolling in now. So I guess we're going to go ahead and we're going to get started. So welcome to Achieving Faith-Based Peak Performance. And you may be saying to yourself, what is that? What does it mean to achieve peak performance as a faith-based individual? And for most of us, we would be challenged with that statement. Because there's just not a lot that's spoken of as it relates to being a peak performer and doing that as a faith-based individual. The Bible speaks consistently about what it means to live out our faith. It speaks consistently about what it means to give our all to the things that we're called to do, but reconciling this idea of performing at a peak level can sometimes be a challenge for us. So I want to talk a little bit about that today, but first I want to introduce myself to you. My name is Ryan James Miller. I am a performance coach. I am a keynote speaker and an author. As you can see right over my shoulder, that is actually the first copy of Wounds: How Hurt, Heartache, and Tragedy Become the Keys to Unlocking Greatness. That book will be live and available for purchase digitally in paperback and hardback on Tuesday, September 12th. So just a few days away from this live session that we're sharing today. I'm really, really excited to share that book with you, my story, and how I understood all of these challenges, all of these struggles, why they were happening to me, and how I was able to leverage those things to ultimately achieve the greatness that I believed was inside of myself. And as I wrote that book, I began to see all of the ways in which the peak performers, the high performers, the successful executives, the top performing sales professionals, how they were all impacted in similar ways as I was by things that were done to them or done by them in their past. And so that book is a journey through that process, what I discovered, and how you too can discover similar things and ultimately unlock the greatness inside of you. But for today, I want to start off talking about what it means to unearth our authentic selves. As you can see over my shoulder in that direction right there is the two letters BA, be authentic. You know, I began talking about this idea of authenticity, or really championing this idea of authenticity, a couple of years back. And it's as I came to the realization that I lived for so long as somebody other than the man that I was created to be. I mean, how many of you can relate to that? How many of you can relate to this idea of going out into the world as a professional, maybe as a spouse, as a parent, as a friend, as a community member, and you're wearing a mask? And that mask is covering up who you really are. I mean, it's a very real thing that we deal with. It's a very real challenge that we face. Sadly, it's not even something that we often do for people out there. Sometimes we wear a mask to hide ourselves from ourselves. We're ashamed. We're embarrassed. We're frustrated. We're unsure of who we really are or what we're really called to do. And so for me, after being so fed up with living as somebody that I was not, I decided to do something about it. And I started by championing this idea of being authentic, to truly live as the man that I was called to be. How about you? How important is it for you to live as your true self, to be comfortable in your own skin, to be confident in who you are? That doesn't mean that we settle for where we're at or settle for who we are. That just means that we are confident in who we are and we strive to become the best version of that person. So I want to dive deep into this idea of authenticity. I want to help you understand what it means to align who you are to what you believe you're called to do. Because if we're going to achieve any level of high performance, of peak performance, we are going to have to do that based on the best of us. You see, that's another problem that we run into when we think about peak performance is we're so often trying to adapt or adopt, I should say, the principles, the ideas, the strategies, and the tactics of everybody else. And it's not to say that we can't glean wisdom. It's not to say that we can't leverage the best practices of other people. But when we're trying to bolt other people's things onto us, we often struggle to perform. So, again, I want to help you understand who you are and how to leverage who you are to become the very best version of that person. So, I want to start off by talking about what it means to wear these masks. What does it mean to live as somebody that we're not? Well, oftentimes, again, we look out into the world and we begin to compare ourselves. We compare ourselves to the fellow entrepreneur that's weeks, months, years ahead of us, that's made more money than we have, that's achieved some greater accolade than we have. Maybe we're a spouse and we see the way that another marriage is, and we think to ourselves, gosh, if I could just have that marriage, in order to have that type of marriage, I must have to be that type of way. We don't understand what other people went through to get to where they are. It's even for me in my own marriage. I am so proud to say that I've been married for 22 years to an amazing woman, and we have an incredible relationship. She's my best friend. She's the one that I would rather spend more time with than anybody else. We laugh together, love together, have fun together, go on vacations together. She's my everything. But my marriage wasn't always that way. And so when people look up to me and say, wow, I want that type of marriage. So I must have to be like you. And I say to myself, that's not how it goes because you don't understand what I've been through to get where I am. You need to figure out who you are called to be in your marriage. You can't just try to put on a mask and be somebody else. There's also pressure in society to just look a certain way, to act a certain way, to drive a certain type of car, to dress, to have a specific lifestyle. And all of these things are just hindering our ability to achieve what's already inside of us, to achieve our dreams, to achieve our desires. As a matter of fact, the more masks that we put on, the more times that we begin to put on these disguises covering up who we are, the farther we get from achieving what we truly dream of. What mask are you wearing? When you think of your life right now, think about the roles you play. Again, as maybe a business owner, a business leader, a parent, a spouse, a friend, a church member. In which one, or maybe more than one of those areas, do you feel like you can't be yourself? That it's better off for you to be somebody else, to look like somebody else, to act like somebody else, to dress like somebody else? Where is that for you? Where do you struggle greatest to just be you? Look, I understand that there is a lot of sensitivity here because a lot of times we're ashamed because of something we've done or because of something that's been done to us. Or maybe because we're afraid to let people know that we haven't accomplished the things that we should have accomplished at the age that we're at, or we haven't yet achieved the income level or the title that we should because the duration of time that we've been in a role or in the industry that we're in. I get it. I've been there. This is not something that is so easy to just get over. Like, I want to help you to recognize something. This is a journey we're going to be on for the rest of our lives. Because there are times in my life when I think about the fact that I've been a coach for 12 years, that I've worked really, really hard, that I'm super passionate about what I do, and yet I'm not where I want to be either. And I look to the world out there and I think to myself, why haven't I accomplished what they've accomplished? Am I not good enough? Smart enough? Strong enough? There's so many challenges that we face to just leaning in to who we are. And oftentimes it's the result of what goes on out there. And so again, I ask you, where are you wearing masks? Where are you hiding from who you truly are? What I want to do is I want to help you begin to gain clarity. And again, we only have 20 minutes here, 25 total minutes. This is stuff that I work on with my one-to-one clients, that we teach in our group coaching programs, that take weeks and months. But I just want to give you a little bit of a glimpse to help you gain some clarity around who you truly are. As Christians, we understand that God created us for a specific purpose. The Westminster Confession says the chief end of man is to glorify God and enjoy him forever. Basically, it's this idea that we were created by God for God. And that is absolutely the truth. The Bible is littered with those words. But God's created you for more. I'm not saying there's anything greater than that. But what I am saying to you is it's more than just this general call to go out into the world and serve God. How do you figure that out? Well, what I help my clients to do, and what I want to encourage you to do, is think about what you love the most. What are you the most passionate about? What are the things that when you think about getting up on a Monday morning after enjoying a great weekend with friends and family and whatever else, what is it that you just get more excited about than anything to get out of bed for? The next question would be, what are you really good at? Just because you love something doesn't mean you're called to something. I mean, for all of my elementary school and the majority of my high school days, until I started to get into trouble and make some dumb decisions, I was absolutely sold out passionate for basketball. But I wasn't good enough to play college ball, never mind professional ball. And so for me to say, well, gosh, I really love basketball. And so therefore, I want to go play in the NBA. My talent didn't align with my desire. And so we have to be careful to not disconnect those things. Yes, we can grow our talents. Yes, we can develop our talents. Yes, we can get better. But ultimately, again, we want to ask ourselves, what am I extremely passionate about? What do I love so much? What do I care so deeply for? And then what am I really good at? What types of things do people affirm and encourage you in? And then finally, you can begin to weave that in to what you believe God's plan is for your life. Because ultimately, this idea of your life's mission is the intersection of God's plan for your life, the things you're passionate about, and the things that your talents reflect you are extremely good at. Again, there's a lot more to it than that. But these are the things that we need to consider. These are the things that are going to be helpful for you as you start off on this journey towards faith fueled peak performance. What am I called to do? What am I passionate about? What am I really dang good at? And I would encourage you to ask those questions of yourself and then answer them. Spend some time really reflecting on those things. Ask other people those similar questions. What do you think I'm good at? What do you see me being extremely passionate about? What am I talking about all the time? What am I really, really into? Those are the things that we want to consider for our life's mission. But I also want to encourage you to not forget the answer to your previous question, which was, what masks do you tend to wear and where do you wear them? Why is that important? That's important because if we start down a path that we believe we're called to, but do so pursuing that path as somebody else, we will never achieve what we ultimately desire. It's going to become so stressful. It's like trying to, as so many people have said, shove a square peg through a round hole. It just won't work. I mean, maybe if you just beat it down so much, eventually you can wear out those square sides and you can get it in there. But the stress, the frustration, the anger, the disappointment, those are all going to be so overwhelming. And honestly, they're not worth it. I mean, wouldn't it be incredible if from the day you were born, somebody just gave you a list and it was 100% true to fact, stating this is exactly what you're good at. This is exactly what you need to pursue. This is when and how you need to pursue it. I mean, glorious, right? But that's not the way it works. We have to figure it out. But we can't figure it out by trying to be something that we're not, which is what most people end up doing. We look to celebrities, we look to influencers, we look to athletes, and we say to ourselves, I just want to be like that. I mean, no matter how hard I try to replicate Tiger Woods' golf swing, I will never be Tiger Woods for a lot of reasons, but definitely because I just don't have the talent nor the passion around golf that he has. And you can apply this to your profession right now. Don't try to be somebody else. Figure out who you are and be the best version of that person. Okay, so let me help you with this. Here's something super duper practical that I would encourage you to consider. This is an exercise of sorts. So I would say if you don't have something out already, or go back and watch this after the fact if you can, but take out a notepad or your iPad or whatever maybe your phone, whatever you take notes on. I want you to write down one thing that you are extremely good at. I mean, you can't lie to yourself here, right? We need to be honest, but I want you to think to yourself, what is one thing that I am so dang good at that people should pay me ridiculous amounts of money for? Like that good. And then I want you to write down one thing that you are overwhelmingly passionate about. What is the thing that, again, gets you out of bed, gets you super excited, gets you really fired up? I mean, you go to sleep and you think about it. You wake up in the morning and you think about it. All throughout the day, you think about it. For me, one of the things that comes to mind is I am so passionate about helping individuals see inside of themselves the things that they can't see, bringing those things to the surface, reflecting them back to them, and then watching the light bulb come on in their head. Like for the first time ever, they really see themselves for who they truly are. That gets me so fired up. I want to do that all day, every day. And it's exactly why I built a business that I did. It took me years to figure out how to hone those skills. But that's why I've invested so deeply into my coaching practice, into my speaking, and into my writing, because I believe that's something that I am so good at and I'm so passionate about. And I want to help others all day, every day to turn that light switch on so they can go achieve everything that they have been created for. So write down one thing that you're really, really good at, one talent, one thing that you're really, really passionate about, something that you love so much. And then I just want you to take some time. Not now, you're going to have to do this later. But I just want you to take some time to imagine how those things could serve a higher purpose. What could those things accomplish for you, for those that you love, and the world around you if you put your all into them? How could you impact the world if you collided your passion and your talent with each other? Okay, we're starting to wind down here, but I want to leave you with a couple of other really helpful practical tips on this idea of unearthing your authentic self, right? This is about reclaiming your identity. This is about leaning into your God given purpose. And we are going to build on this because this isn't the only session that we're doing here, right? We're going to be talking about designing your dream life tomorrow. That's going to be something that you are definitely not going to want to miss. And then finally, we're going to talk about unlocking divine potential. So these are going to be building on one another. But I want to leave you with a few more practical tips on this idea of unearthing your authentic self. Okay. So I want to give you the courage to be yourself. And you may be saying to yourself right now, like, who is this guy to just tell me I need to have more courage? Of course, I want more courage, but it is so stinking hard. I get it. I get it because I have a voice inside of my head just like you do. I understand what it's like to hear this echo at times of not being good enough, of not being worthy. In my book, I write the story of how my dad and mom's divorced when I was 6, and my dad leaving. Um, I got to see my dad every other weekend for most of my young years, but I write the story of how that impacted me growing up. And one of the things that I didn't realize until much later that it actually did was it caused me to feel unworthy in situations. I wouldn't have said it this way then because I didn't know it, but reflecting back on it, what I was thinking was something to the effect of if I wasn't good enough for my dad, who's supposed to love me no matter what, how will I ever be good enough for anybody? But instead of finding that I'm feeling sorry for myself, I took that and started to overdo it to prove to other people that I was worthy. And it got me into a whole lot of trouble. Drinking, drugs, fighting, breaking the law, so many things. So I get it. The voice inside of your head is a wicked one. And my encouragement to you is to seek outside objective counsel by way of a good friend that will tell you the truth, a mentor, a coach, somebody that will help you parse through the truths and untruths that your inside voice continues to tell you, because those things are real. They're not true, but they are real. You can't just ignore them. So you have to figure out how to practically work through them. And one of the ways that you can do that is by talking about that with somebody else that can help you process truth from untruth. Secondly, it's not just about internal pressure. It's not just about this internal critic that we have, but it's also about all of the external critics, all of the external pressures that are out there in the world. Family, friends, society can knock us off the path. All of those things, sometimes by way of directly accusing us of doing the wrong thing when we actually know it's the right thing to do, sometimes by way of influence of just pushing us in another direction. Sometimes just because we see the way that the world operates, we end up finding ourselves gravitating towards that instead of towards what we really want. So I get it. But my encouragement to you is the same. You have to find an objective voice or set of voices that is going to speak truth into you to help you going down the right path. This is why I like so much being a part of masterminds and coaching communities because in my mastermind, I'm in a mastermind, a pretty high level mastermind with a group of men that are willing to tell me the truth. They help keep me in line and online. They know who I am. They know what I'm all about. They know what my stated goals are. So they help keep me moving down the tracks in the right direction. So outside objectivity and outsiders that have a true desire to see you accomplish your best are going to be some of the best gifts that you can give yourself. And there's one final one. This is the most important one of them all. In order to find the courage to be you, you must seek God because He is the ultimate and only truth. And as you read scripture, as you pray and cry out to God, you will be given affirmation and confirmation of the path that you should walk. Now, I want to be really careful and say this. Just because you're super talented and extremely passionate does not mean the outcomes that you desire are going to be the ones you achieve. I could be the best coach in the world or the most passionate coach in the world with all the talent as a coach in the world and not achieve the most success in the world. God may have a different plan for the outcomes I will produce. But that should not dissuade me from continuing to pursue that path because it's the one that I'm called to. But seek God, pray, read scripture. You will learn so much from reading God's word and understanding who He has called you as a man or woman to be, what He has called you to do, how He has called you to strive, how He has called you to apply the things that He has given to you. I cannot encourage you enough. If you want to be courageous in living as the men and women that God has called you to, you have to hear from God over and over and over again because there is too much untruth that's being poured into us. And the only answer to that, the ultimate answer to that, is to fill ourselves with God's word. So, as we wind down this idea of unearthing our authentic selves, I just want to remind you of a couple of things. And it's this. Number one, I want you to think about the places that you are afraid to be who you desire to be. This idea of wearing masks in roles, wearing masks in situations, wearing masks in certain contexts. Why are you doing that? What purpose is that serving? Because ultimately it's doing no good for you. Two, get clear on your mission. Who are you? What are you passionate about? What are you talented about? What has God called you to? Bring those things together and watch as fruit continues to be produced. And finally, have the courage to be the men and women that God has called you to be. I'm telling you right now, there is nothing that is going to get you more of what you want than being who God has called you to be. No question. In my mind, that is absolutely, in fact, the case. And so, whatever you've heard here, take one small step of action. Tomorrow, in our next session, we're going to be talking about beginning to build this blueprint. We're going to talk about, okay, if I know who I am, if I have an understanding for what I've been called to, then what does the path forward look like? What is the blueprint? What is the framework that I need to follow in order to live for faith fueled peak performance? That is what we are going to get into tomorrow. If you are finding me for the first time, if you are here and you're like, where did this guy come from? I would encourage you, you can go to woundsbook.com. You can find more information about me, about our community in which we are pouring content like this into to ensure that you are living as the men and women that God has called you to, that you are achieving peak performance in every single area that God has called you to. So go to woundsbook.com. You can check out more about our community. You can sign up for free updates. You can pick up a copy of my book when it becomes available next week. Thank you so much for joining today's first of 3 sessions on faith-fueled peak performance. Come back tomorrow, 12 o'clock Pacific time. We're going to be going at this again. We're going to be building a blueprint. And ultimately, we're going to end session 3 with showing you how you can go out into the world and get everything that your heart desires. Thank you guys so much. Ryan James Miller. Talk to you guys soon.